Yeah, well, I think now it's time for our weekly news and announcements update. We know that there's a lot going on in the world today. A lot of sources telling you what's going on. So we at Chi Alpha want to be your trusted source for news. So we'll start now on the national stories. You guys all know that during this season, there's been a lot of just like cancellations. Things have been postponed, and one of the casualties this past week was April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day was largely canceled this year in light of just kind of the seriousness of everything that's going on. And it was probably for the best. That was probably the right move, where people weren't really pulling jokes and pranks this year. But experts warn for the public to be extra on their guard next year when April Fool's Day returns with a vengeance and a year's worth of pent-up pranks comes out. We have to look forward to April Fool's Month 2021. That's coming up. You guys may have seen this. The CDC now is recommending wearing masks out in public. But they actually had to issue a clarifying statement today because after supermarkets were just swarmed with droves of Darth Vaders, Spider-Man, and Freddy Krueger's, the CDC had to issue a clarifying statement saying it meant cloth masks, not Halloween masks. You can save those for Comic-Con next year. And then finally, we've been following closely the toilet paper crisis of 2020, something that we will all remember for the rest of our lives. And after last week's recommendation to start using tree bark, well, it turns out that the trees are starting to get bare. So now experts are saying to use corn cobs, saying, quote, "They work just fine," end quote. That's it for your national news for the day. Now for
I
some
can't wait
local,
for next week's recommendation for toilet paper.
local news and announcements. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what will happen? How much further can we keep that joke going? Well, our local news and announcements on the Chi Alpha front is that core groups are still going on. Core groups are still going on online. Hopefully, you guys have all been able to participate in these past few weeks. But if not, make sure that you talk to one of our student leaders. We're still doing core groups. We're doing them online. We're having fun. We're still having fellowship in a time of social distancing. Next announcement is that the first ever Great Utah Chi Alpha Bake Off Quarantine Edition. I think that's what we settle on the name. If not, it's close enough. But we got a bake off coming this weekend. And we're really, really excited about that. So what we're going to be doing is woo! Yeah, we can get some woos in the chat. Yeah, even some wahoo-wah. Go Who's. Well, we got the Great Bake Off coming up this this weekend. So we're really, really excited about that. People will be baking in their own kitchens and then dropping them off at our secured, safe drop point of the hub. There needs to be no human interaction. Noreen and Angela have bravely volunteered to sample what's dropped off there. So make sure you're keeping sanitary kitchens and all of that. But we're really excited. We're really excited to try this virtual bake-off competition, and we're really just excited to see what you guys come up with. So most of you guys probably already know about that, but if you are interested in participating and don't, make sure you talk to. Well, you can talk to any of us on staff or talk to Danny, Angela, Karen. I don't know. I'm probably not pointing to them on your screen, but
Nope.
pointing to them on my screen, and that's really all I care about. So talk to them, and they'll get you more information on how to participate. And our final announcement, you guys may have seen our XAUVU social media accounts. We've been doing daily video uploads, and we mentioned this in the past, but Mondays are Pet Video Mondays. This past Monday featured a video from our very own Ryder, who's making a guest appearance right now. So if you want to feature your pet, your dog, cat, lizard, little sibling, whatever, on Pet Video Monday, make sure you submit those videos to me, tylerrockledge@gmail.com, and I'll drop that in the chat if you don't have my email. And yeah, that is it for our news and announcements this week. So yeah, Nick's got a pet rock. Maybe we'll see him in the future weeks. That's it for news and announcements this week. Now I'd like to ask you guys to give your attention to Raissa, who's going to be leading us in the message tonight.
Yeah. Word up.
Right.
Go Raissa.
Woohoo. Okay. What can I see myself?
What if you haven't shared your screen yet?
Oh,
Yeah,
that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Reshare
Okay, you guys
your
just
screen.
give me a moment. I'm trying to figure this thing out.
Ooh, we're getting somewhere. Look at that.
Is it saying loading to you guys
It's
too?
Yeah, it's saying loading. Yeah.
Well,
I think this sermon's on patience.
yeah, that's what it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me try this again. Okay.
Love it when a plan comes together.
Part of
We
this
know.
site is being load.
So
Oh
I'm
my
trying
God.
to click on it too.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
Yay.
This is not where it starts. Okay,
There we go.
awesome. Can you guys see that?
Yep. Matthew 7.
Yeah.
And we see the title slide.
Yes, that's exactly where I wanted to start. All right, so today we're talking about Matthew 7, 7 to 12. Talked about ask, seek, and knock. And before we start, I just want some of y'all to share about a time when you saw good results because you were consistent. Like it can be anything from, I don't know, working out and then you lost weight, or yeah, anything really. Just, I want to hear some stories.
I guess I'll start because when I, you guys know I have diabetes. Got the diabetes, and so, and some of you know, I've kind of not necessarily done keto, but I just do a very low carb, high protein, maybe not really high fat, but moderate fat diet. So, so before, when I was trying to do what they actually recommend for diabetics, which is like the heart healthy diet, which includes lots of carbs still. Like my A1C, I can never get it below 7, and the A1C is like the measurement of what your blood sugar is supposed to be. And so a normal person, most people's is under 6 if you don't have diabetes. If for a diabetic, they want to be under 7, and that would be pretty healthy. If you get under 6 as a diabetic, they actually get worried that you're staying too low. Actually, anyhow, once a couple years ago started eating low carb and more protein, and just which is kind of hard because you eliminate some of the good things in life like ice cream and bread. I like pasta, but more so because of what you put on the pasta. But pasta. Then all these things kind of has some replacements, but yeah. So that was the hard thing. That was the challenging thing. Is some of those things you enjoy, especially good fresh bread or tortillas. Nachos are no longer a thing for me. I get a taco salad. I get it without the taco, pretty much. But ever since I have started that, my A1C has been consistently under 7, and so that's been a big help.
Yeah, that's really cool. Anyone else has a story to share?
What was the question?
Share about a time that you saw good results because you're consistent. I know it's so hard to find.
One story? I have one.
Okay.
I consistently dated Jonathan, and now I'm married.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay, girl. That's the best one.
Abby's married? I'm kidding, Abby. I was at your wedding.
Her name
Anyway.
still says Whitmore, so I don't believe it.
I know, that's true, Abby. You need to change your name here too.
I know. I don't know how to change stuff.
I don't know either, so.
The dots in the corner of your screen on
Much
your
work.
on your camera. It takes 2 seconds.
I've got a story about being consistent. If nobody else has one, so do I have ability to screen share?
Yeah. Oh, do you have it? I don't know. I think Darren needs to give you the ability to.
Because
Is he doing that right now?
Yeah, sorry. I think so. I
Oh,
think you should be
oh,
able to now.
yeah, I
but
think
you might
I
have to. Oh, Raissa might have to turn hers off.
Oh, really?
I think I can hijack it.
Or can you?
Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you guys see?
I see a picture of a girl and a guy.
Your
Do you-
friend from Virginia, I forget his name.
We see the wrong screen, actually. We
See the
see
wrong-
your.
Why is that?
Oh, that was the guy from. Was that
Tyler,
the same
it's a
guy
picture
who
you keep
spoke,
editing. That picture.
Oh, there we go.
Here we
at
go.
that
Yeah.
one event?
Cool. All right. I think we all see a blank screen now.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, here's a story about being consistent and seeing results. Although it's a little sillier. Is in college, one of my housemates, he was dating a girl, and this was fall of my senior year in college, so that was 2014. They started dating, and shortly after they started dating, they uploaded this picture as his profile picture, and that's like innocent enough. But for some reason, like my housemates and all, and I just like started like memeing this into oblivion. Whereas like just like I don't know, like after this had only been up for like an hour or two, my housemate Zach decided it would be really, really funny to just Photoshop it into some sort of a monstrosity. So he uploaded this in the comments section. So I saw my housemate Zach do that. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. I bet I could play around with Microsoft Paint.
Is that Honey Boo Boo in the bottom?
No, I don't.
That's Joe Biden, isn't it?
It's Bob Barker. Price is Right.
No, on the.
Sorry.
Anyways, go ahead.
No, I think it's just, I don't know who that is. It was just like a meme. So he uploaded that in the comments section, which prompted me to I wanted to chime in. So this was my contribution. And after that, it just like blew up into this crazy thing where me and my housemate Zach, we kept doing this like almost every day for a couple months. We were like consistently just trolling Michael and Katie with like new photoshops of them like in ridiculous situations. And then it like blew up. Like all sorts of people were like Michael's friends from like all over the world were like joining in with like some really like crazy like photoshops like this. Like that, I was really impressed with that one. I don't really understand how they did that. And then like one of his friends who lived in the Middle East put them over there in the Middle East where he lives. And then we started getting like edits of them with like just like different themes and topics. Like we had Star Wars, we had a Drake Hotline Bling, we had The Office.
Oh my god.
And it just kind of, this went on for like months and months and eventually like years. And like we started like, oh yeah, Captain America.
Oh my gosh.
Marvel. everyone. And we started getting like other people started like recreating the picture in the same spot. There's one of my housemates, another one of my housemates. There's me. And it just like it was just like the longest running joke. And like after it had been going on for like at this point like a year and a half or so, then like we started taking it to the next level, and we started like actually having like physical merchandise for it. Made a mug of them holding mugs.
Oh my God.
Another one of my friends like photoshopped that into a mug. That's
Oh my gosh.
So I made that into a real mug and sent it to him. And then eventually it all kind of culminated with like 2 years of like just consistently making this joke. I had it secretly made into a nice fancy coffee table book. And that was like that was one of their wedding presents.
Oh my God.
And it was like super nice, super fun. And hold up, where's my mouse? Oh, can I just hit? Nope. How do I exit out of this?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. And eventually, yeah, I gave it to them wearing this. So I don't know, maybe I took the joke a little bit too far. But we just like consistently turned it into this like really fun like special joke that like now they have this nice coffee table book that they have to explain
my
to
God.
everybody who comes into their house.
That's dedication right there. That's amazing.
That's too much dedication.
That's too much dedication.
Tyler, you didn't.
I did.
It's so funny.
What?
Well,
Example of consistency.
What?
yeah. That's a different level. Like when I was asking the question, I wasn't expecting that.
He came ready. He came ready for this. He
All right, well.
to share that with all of us.
That's so cool. Well, that's a really cool story. I don't know if I can share anything after that. But I actually want to say that I feel like being consistent is one of the hardest things to do, especially for college students. Like when you start, I feel like when you start the semester, you're like, okay, this semester, I'm going to get this thing done. I'm going to do all my homework like 3 days before it. And then like in the middle of the semester, you start like submitting your homework like 15 minutes before it and stuff like that. Like if you're in college, you've probably done that at least once, if you're like me. So I feel like being consistent is one of the hardest thing to do. And in this passage in the Bible, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and it says, ask and it will be given to you. And wait, I can't see what's after here. Okay, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks will receive, and the one who seeks find, and to the one who knocks the door will be open. And here Jesus is talking to his disciple. That's when it says everyone. And as we know today, we are God's disciples. As children of God, we are the one that is sent out to the nations to talk about him and share the good news of Jesus. So this applies to us. It also applies to us. So that means we can also ask and we'll find. We can also seek and we can also knock. And one of the things that I was kind of thinking about when reading this is that it's like, what does it even mean to ask, seek, and knock? Does it mean you just pray one time and it's like, oh yeah, I asked God for something and he's gonna answer me? Or like, what exactly does that mean? And one of the idea that I kind of came up with is that it is the promise of God to hear us when we come to him in prayer, when we ask, seek, and knock. Because there's so many passages in the Bible that kind of talks about that as well. in Deuteronomy 4:29, the Bible says, "But if from there you seek the Lord, your God, you will find him if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul." Can I have someone else read the second verse down there? Can you guys see it?
Yeah, I can read.
Okay, yeah.
What are we reading?
2 Chronicles 7:14, right?
Yeah, it's on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
Yeah, good. And this one's, anybody want to read this?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so it says, "He will call on me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him."
And the next one, anyone else? Right, I'll read it. "If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you." Like, as we can see, there's so many passages in the Bible that shows the promises of God. God literally says that when we come to him, when we ask him, when we knock and when we seek, he's gonna answer it and he's gonna like give us whatever we want. I love the Psalm 91:15 that says, "He will call on me and I'll answer him. I will be with him in trouble and he will deliver him and honor him." That's pretty much like we are in trouble all the time. And I love the idea that God can be with us in the middle of all that, you know. And I was thinking about like, you know, with the pandemic and all that's going on right now, it's so crazy to talk about prayer because that's what people have been doing all the time. Like, I feel like a lot of people are praying for this. I see on Facebook, like people worshiping from their cars and like big group of people praying online, and yeah, there's just so many people praying right now. But then you wake up the next day, you read the news, and it tells you that there's 600 people dying every day in New York. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, ask, seek, and knock, and then you do that, but the next day you don't see anything. Like, God, what are you trying to do? So what do you guys think? What do you guys think is the, I don't want to say the reason, but what is the idea behind that?
So
Like,
if I may, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say that when I was teaching my students about prayer, we would talk about that, about, you know, the Bible saying, you know, like, if you ask, it shall be done for you. And my students would come and say, you know, I prayed for this and it didn't happen. You know, God didn't answer my prayer. And one thing I used to tell them was that God did answer your prayer, but sometimes we forget no is just as much of an answer as yes. So if God is telling you no and God's telling you not now or wait, you know, those are still answers. It's not the answer that we want, but it is still an answer. So I do believe that we get an answer to every prayer that we ask, but it's not always the answer that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Anyone else have anything to share?
I had sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I had a thought. So I think that God's timing is different than ours. And you know, he's omniscient and knows all things and knows what is best for us.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's through our struggles and what we suffer that we can learn from those things and be stronger, maybe be able to empathize with others and serve. And I think sometimes it's through our traumas that we can come closer to Christ and to serve others. And I think sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is like an immediate miracle or blessing, and sometimes it's just not time, like it's not in his timing. So I think that's something to consider. And I also think that our faith shouldn't be like outcome dependent. Like I think it was what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
We lost him. Did we lose Greg?
Is he still there?
Will, you know. So that's a thought I had.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. That's a really good insight. Anyone else has anything? Someone was gonna say something.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing exactly. That sometimes God, He will give you, but it's at a different time. And sometimes also we ask God to deliver us, and sometimes God delivers us by removing us from the situation, and sometimes He does it by letting us go through the situation so we can gain strength and learn more from it. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, those are really good insight. I feel like you guys had all those things. And yeah, when I was thinking about this, I just felt like God was telling me, keep asking, keep seeking, and keep praying. Because during this time when you pray for something, like for me, for example, I was praying that this coronavirus will kind of stop so that I can go home in the summer. And then I prayed for it for like 3 days. We had like this fast and prayer for 3 days. And then like days after, I was like, I just give up. I feel like this is not gonna go. I just stopped praying for it. And I felt like preparing for this, reading this, like God was telling me, keep praying, keep seeking, keep asking, and keep knocking, because like you guys said, it's about God's timing. And I like what Asia said, that even when we don't see it, God is always working. Even when He says no, is saying something. So like you stopping, or you feeling like you just tired from asking God, is like you giving up if you really want something. That's why I kind of talked about consistency. I really believe that God looks at how much we are consistent in what we need, and He looks at our hearts, and He blesses that. And the blessing, like you guys said, doesn't always look like we want, but it always works. Like the song Waymaker says, even when we don't see it, it's working. Like in the middle of this pandemic, when we see 600 people dying every day, God is working. He's like doing something that maybe we're not seeing right now, but He's always working. Like I just can't imagine God sitting and not doing anything, like He's God. He must be doing something every day. He's like a super busy man. So there's just no way that there will be a day that it won't be doing anything. It's always working. It's always doing something. And no matter what you're going through right now, I just encourage you to keep asking, to keep seeking, and to keep knocking, because God always answers. And yeah, so the rest of the passage says, which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask Him? And I was just going to ask someone to share a good memory that they have with their father. Like your dad, something that he did that was like great that you can never forget, or just like share something like your relationship with your dad, if you have a good one. Anyone?
I have one.
Yeah.
Is it, you can hear me, right? It's good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I was really slow to ride my bike and get off training wheels, and I'm not a very coordinated person. So my dad took a broom handle and somehow like wired it to my bike.
Oh.
And he definitely, his outfits were stuck in the 80s, so he'd wear like his wife beater and short shorts and rollerblade around the neighborhood holding on to my broom handle to direct me. And it was
so nice.
It's so cute, and we have so many pictures of him just like rollerblading like a weirdo behind me.
Oh.
But it's really special because he basically did the same thing teaching me how to drive a car. So
Oh. That's so cool. How did he do it with the car?
he took a handle and attached it to the steering wheel so that in the passenger seat, he could keep adjusting it. So.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's awesome. Anyone else has some cool story? Oh, the dog has a story. Anyone else? Well, I'll share my story. I have a really cool dad. Like, I don't know if you guys know anything about African dads. African dads are very interesting. African dads.
I'll share if you guys can.
Oh, who is it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Abby, you can share.
Okay. I'll share.
Yeah.
So I had a car. Maybe a lot of you guys maybe already know this story, but I had a car when I first moved to Utah, and I went home one Christmas to Missouri and left my car here and let a friend borrow it because she didn't have anything to drive. And she got rear-ended, and it completely totaled my car and was not even, like, they couldn't even push it off of the road. It was so messed up and so mangled. She was okay. Everyone was okay, but the car was not at all okay. So I'm in Missouri, and I'm like, I don't have a car when I get back to Utah. This is not good. And, I was just praying about it, but I also wasn't super worried. I thought I'll just figure something out when I get back to Utah. And my dad came into the kitchen the next morning and was like, hey, will you clean out Grandpa's old car? We're going to take it into the dealership. And I was like, okay. So I cleaned it out for him, and then we drive into town to drop it off at the dealership. And he's like, oh, we got to pick up your car now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, I went ahead and just traded Grandpa's old car in and got you a new car.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's definitely one of those moments of I did not do anything to deserve this gift. Just the simple fact that I was his daughter and he wanted to do it. He wanted to provide for me. It was really, really a blessing and kind of amazing. And even to this day, I'm still like, yeah, it's still amazing.
That's the car you have right now, right?
It's the car I have now, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it definitely showed me a side of grace that I hadn't really understood until I received such an amazing gift and didn't do anything to pay for it, to deserve it, to really kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Yeah, I love all the stories. Yeah, I was also gonna share about my dad. So African dads are really different than most parents. Their way of loving you is by telling you what to do, and that's very normal for them. They tell you what to do with your life. They plan your life for you. That's literally like just an African thing to do. Like, that's what most African dads do, and it's just normal for them. But one thing I know about my dad is that he will always go like the extra mile to just provide for his family. Like, I remember when I was a kid, my dad was like a taxi driver when Sephora was born, because he didn't have a job, but he had a car, so he just started driving his car. And that's how you do it back home. You can just start driving your car and have people in and they pay you. So that's what he did for like a while, because he had to provide for his family. And when I was reading this, I was like thinking about my dad, but I was also thinking about all the negative things, like how controlling my dad is. And I just love the idea that God is even better, you know. God is even better than all the stories. Like Abby's dad, like what he did was awesome. But then try to imagine God being more than that. Like God is even more gracious than that. God is even more loving than that. Because your dad is, you know, is really nice. He loves you. But as human beings, we're not perfect. There's so much imperfection in us. But God as our father, he loves us so much and is always willing to go the extra mile for us, you know. And there's just you can also ask, like, what do you mean by having God as my father? Like, what does that even mean? And there's a few verses in the Bible that kind of talks about it and shows how we enter the family of Christ and how God has become our father. In Romans 8:14-16, it says, for those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit you receive does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you receive brought about your adoption to sonship, and by him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. So through Jesus, we are, all of us are children of God. And it's so clear in this verse. There's also in John 1:10-13, it says, he was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or husband's will, but born of God. So as you can see, this verses shows us that we are God's children. Like God sees us as his own. God will take care of us. That's why when we ask, seek, and knock, he will answer us because he's our father. Like that verse said, like if you ask for bread, your dad won't give you a stone. And as God as a better father, as a good father, when we ask, seek, and knock, you always take care of us and give us all the good things that we need. And also, I just want to go back to what we said before when we talked about God giving us what we need and not what we want. I feel like that's one of my biggest struggle. I'm like, God, this is what I want. Give me this. And do you guys have those times where you don't want to ask God because you feel like if you ask him, he's not going to give you what you want, so you try to do it on your own? You're like, I'm not going to tell him that. I'm just going to try this on my own, you know, because God is going to come and put senses in me.
That's so true. That's so true.
I know. Do you guys have this time where you're like, I'm not going to pray about this one thing because God is going to work on my heart, and I don't want my heart to be working on right now.
Facts.
Yeah, do you guys have any times like that? Anything you guys want to share? Any time you were in that situation where you like try to help God because you thought he doesn't like, my thing is sometimes I think God doesn't understand the situation. I'm like, you're in heaven, you don't really know what's going on here on earth. So
before I met my husband, I was in a really bad relationship, and I didn't want to pray about it because I knew it was a bad relationship to begin with.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to pray about it. I'm not going to ask Jesus about it because I'm like, I already know the answer and I don't want the answer. So thank God that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So it's like, God kind of has a way of working things out, in the favor of those who love him and are called according to his purpose, as scripture tells us. So, yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. Anyone else can relate to that? That's some type of story where they try to help God because they thought God doesn't get it.
I love how you explained it because I think that's actually valid for everyone, but we wouldn't explain it like that because it sounds so not good.
I know.
This is kind of a funny story. When I was growing up, my sister was just kind of, sorry for all the screaming. My sister was very, she liked dating all different guys, and she would inevitably always date someone that wasn't good for her, generally a drug dealer or drug, of some sort. Anyway, so, but inevitably what would always happen is she would get home to our house and she would yell at my mom and she would say, "Mom, you need to stop praying." Because then she knew that if it wasn't a good relationship that he would break up with her for like no reason. That all and she's like, "Mama, I really like him. You need to stop. Just stop. Like, stop your praying. I don't want to hear what God has to say about it." And so it's just funny because she still had it in her head. If she wasn't going to talk to God about it, but she knew my mom would. And so therefore the guy would break up with her and her heart would be broken. And time. And so anyways, I think we do the same thing. We don't want to hear the right, what's good for us sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like we do that all the time. And just like I was saying, I'll just encourage us today to keep asking, keep seeking, and keep knocking. If you don't remember anything from today's message, because we talked a lot, just tell yourself that I'm going to keep asking, I'm going to keep seeking, and I'm going to keep knocking, because God always answers. There's not a day that he looks at us and is like, "Oh, I'm not going to answer you today." He's always moving. He's always doing something, because he's our Father, like we just said. He's a good Father. He always takes care of us. He always takes care of our needs. So, we're going to get into small groups and kind of do some prayer time, and then we'll come back together. I have a few questions that you guys can answer here, and then we'll come back after like 5 minutes to pray together. Does that sound good?